Pete Hegseth came out and said the thing. He came out and said something about physical standards, and people are very, very mightily upset, mighty indignation. So Hegseth, speaking with President Trump at an event peopled by senior people in the military who, according to ABC News, meaning it's probably not true, were horribly concerned and nervous going into this. And it was rare to have a gathering like this. And what Hegseth said has caused some outrage. John Harwood, formerly of CNN, said that he announced that no more blacks in the military. Well, if it were up to him, that he made it clear he'd want no more black people in the military. Strange thing to conclude from what Pete Hegseth said. In other words, obviously not true. Hegseth talked about physical standards. What a thing to have physical standards. I have a loved one who recently got her first job. She's a young kid. Got her first job, and she has to be able to lift 40 pounds at a time. That's a physical standard. And she has to be able to do that throughout the day. That's a physical standard. She also has to be able to reach a certain height. She's working in a kitchen. That's a physical standard. To do what I have to do here with you, I have to be able to speak. Like words have to come out of my speaking hole and across my vocal cords and then into this microphone. That's a physical standard, and I hopefully don't do that a bunch. Hitting things, violated a physical standard. Here's Hegseth.
This, and I want to be very clear about this, this is not about preventing women from serving. We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world. But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result, so be it. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games. This is combat. This is life or death. As we all know, this is you versus an enemy hell-bent on killing you. To be an effective, lethal fighting force, you must trust that the warrior alongside you in battle is capable, truly physically capable of doing what is necessary under fire. You know this is the only standard you would want for your kids and for your grandkids. Apply the War Department Golden Rule, the 1990 test, and the E6 test, and it's really hard to go wrong.
So he's talking about physical standards at the most physically necessary career within that. And I've never served, never got anywhere near serving in the military. I had a brief experience at SealFit and got medically pulled after about 12 hours. And it is a small version. It's a 50-hour version of Hell Week. One of the things they say for the end is where you have to buddy carry someone. You have to pick up someone's body and run it across a beach or drag it across the beach because they want you to be truly exhausted at that point. There's events like buddy swims, etc. And you have to be able to hang with everybody there because if you are dragging the team down, you're out. Because the physical standards stand for everybody. And in that case, I'll never forget this. There was a time where we were having a meal. We'd give us a brief 20-minute meal break. And an older gentleman showed up my age, maybe even older than me. I think he was older than me. And one of the instructors asked him, "Hey, how are your pull-ups?" Yeah, the guy was older than me. Without warming up, without stretching, without moving his arms around, without anything, this gentleman popped up on a pull-up bar and did 11 strict pull-ups at an age well above 60, well within standards. So as Hegseth is talking about this, I heard an ABC commentary on the radio saying, but why do you have to do this with desk jobs? Why would you have to do this with desk jobs? You have these generals who are running strategy. Why would you do it with desk jobs? Why do you think you do that with desk jobs? Because there's a mental component to this. When I was at SealFit, there was no doubt in anyone's head that the instructors could do everything they were making us do and then some. They could do it while singing sweet love songs. It wouldn't stress them a bit. You one look at these guys, you understood. Don't challenge them. In the case of generals who are behind the desk, they don't have to go out and be operational. So they don't have to go carry heavy things and shoot at people, but they have a standard to uphold that they have a mental respect for their bodies. that they're mentally put together well enough that they're not going to become slothful and obese. And I'm not here to judge your body. There was a time when I weighed almost 400 pounds. Hegseth also said this about distractions in the military. Distractions can get you killed in the military, and that's another lesson we took away from SealFit. Are you in the game?
No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that.
We're done with it. He's talking about unit cohesion. He's talking about everybody on the same page. He's talking about everybody can backfill a job. See, I mentioned this case of this young person I know who got her first job. She's being trained in every capacity, from washing dishes to cooking to being on the completion line to being in the retail environment to setting up the retail environment to opening the retail environment to closing the retail environment, because she has to be able to step in at any process, any point. And there's capabilities she has to fulfill. She has to have, like I said, being able to lift 40 pounds here or there, or throughout the day, in fact. Physical standards are not a bizarre thing. Physical requirements are not a bizarre thing. People who work on airplanes, flight attendants, they have physical standards. They have to be able to do certain things. It's only because this is Trump and it's only because this is Hegseth. And this all makes sense in a combat setting. There are women who can probably pass some of these tests, but not many. Very few. Most men can never get near to passing them. And I'm going to give you a couple of could have been incredibly tragic examples of where women had no business being physical, trying to physically control anybody, and they happen to be law enforcement officers. I'm aware that there are female cops who can handle themselves, but I'll show you this in a second. One part of being able to handle yourself physically is being able to handle yourself mentally. And you combine those things, understand something. Your doctor, who might be telling you that, you know, that neurological condition you have, get used to it. Here's some pills. We'll stop the tremors. We can stop some of the sleep problems with these pills. That's what they're told to do, and they often get bonuses for that, for handing out pills. Your doctor who's telling you you're just going to have to get used to not being able to use your hands, that doctor is probably unaware of the fact that that's not the case. Your doctor who says you might have to have surgery. Your surgeon who says that. Maybe not. Renew.healthcare in Mexico is the finest place for the use of stem cells from umbilical cords in the world. Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, they've got a lab that's one step below a biocontainment lab that you'd use for Ebola. It's that advanced. They harvest the stem cells from umbilical cords of women they know. They're donor cells. That is illegal in America. You don't get to do that. They track the health of the women during pregnancy and after, which allows them to reject 90% of the stem cells. So what they put in your body are the very best that can ever possibly exist, and it doesn't stop there. If you're having any health concerns, including immunological issues, they have been having great success resetting entire immune systems, doing away with myocarditis and pericarditis. Get in touch with them at Renew, RENUE.healthcare. That's Renew, RENUE.healthcare. Another portion of being aware of yourself physically is to be aware of yourself and your limitations physically. I got medically pulled from the SealFit experience, and I don't know if I would have made it through the whole thing. I know I didn't because I got medically pulled. I met my limits. My body met its limit. These women met their limits, but their job is to be able to protect and serve. This is in a Hooters restaurant, and this guy's been acting up, and I think he's lit, I think he's drunk, and there are two female cops attempting aimlessly to control him, and he's laughing.
They're starting to laugh, too.
He's laughing and mugging at the cameras. They're trying to put handcuffs on him, and they can't begin to physically control him. And he's not even trying to lift his arms up, not trying to hit him. He's clowning. Look at him looking at the camera and smiling. I guess he knows he's going to jail. They're trying to reach for his legs. They can't do that. Incidentally, are they protecting their weapons because his hands are right down by their guns? Do you see the dude laughing? Now watch what happens here. Someone finally gets tired of this. One woman says, please, please. One of the female officers says, please, please. And here comes a 300-pound dude, picks her brother up and sets him gently down on his face. There you go. Enjoy the concrete. And he should get a free drink at Hooters. Those women have no business being cops. They have no business being cops. Physical standards are such that you can look at this and it can be funny, like this one is funny. This is a skinny college-age young woman who's walking away, Corpus Christi, Texas, kind of trotting away. Gosh knows what she did. Or maybe stole something. I don't know. But there are two female cops sauntering over in an attempt to arrest this young woman and know there's going to be a scuffle. And female cop puts hands on, and skinny 115 pounds college students, nope, I'm not going to comply. She doesn't even bother protecting her purse, pushes away. Second female cop's on the scene, and the race is on. They did get her purse. That's going to be inconvenient for her. And I think that at this point, I actually think she was circling back to get her purse and then thought better of it. And she's running down the roads, Corpus Christi, Texas, and I don't think those ladies have any ability to go catch her because they're going to gas out right about now. They're starting to metabolically redline. Pete Hegseth spoke about physical standards. Now, all that's fun and well. No one got hurt, but let's reverse order. In the Hooters case, if that guy had not been a happy drunk, but an angry one, had he not been harmless but stupid, but been harmful and stupid, how could that have ended? When I was at the SealFit experience for the brief time that I was, we were reminded time and again about the reality of life and death. You never waste food. No, two of our brothers got in huge trouble. One of them hid his food in the dirt. We never waste food. That was a published rule. You will eat what you are given. You will eat it. And if you can't eat it, you will give it to someone. Food will never be wasted. One of the guys had hidden the food in the sand. One of the instructors found it. And those guys had to pay. The guy who hid the food was told he had a brief amount of time, far shorter than you'd think, to run back and get more food. And then his swim buddy was there. One of the instructors said, "Who's his swim buddy?" Brother raised his hand. He said, "Why the F is he running alone?" He had to catch up. Very clear, you're never alone. Why? Because we were simulating a combat role, a life-saving role. A friend of mine who was a cop, he got into a tussle in an unlit hallway in Seattle because they'd been responding to a domestic violence complaint. And that tussle lasted 20 minutes as this guy fought for my friend Mark's gun. And Mark at a point realized he had to convince that man that he was going to be unalived if he wanted to get out, and that Mark had to be willing to do that. Mark saved his own life, saved that guy's life, and got out because he was physically capable of doing it. Pete Hegseth did nothing other than point out the fact that in the military, your job, when told to by civilian leadership, is to break things and kill people.